Welcome back. We are so glad you all are joining us. ASAN appreciates your support, whether that is participating in our action alerts, sharing our resources, or donating. Now it is my pleasure to announce Julia Bascom, ASAN's Executive Director. You know the common misconception about autistics and empathy. I can definitely tell you that Julia has plenty of empathy, and much more. I am constantly amazed at Julia's drive, energy, and passion in navigating all the entails with running an increasingly complex organization like ASAN. As Executive Director of ASAN, Julia has focused on building coalitions with other disability groups, building relationships with other civil rights organizations, and making ASAN's work, and civic engagement in general, more accessible to people with intellectual disabilities.
Hello! Thank you all so much for joining us this year. The virtual format is still a little different for us, but I am so excited about the way it lets us extend the Gala beyond our usual one night of programming, bring in new voices, and highlight the work and leadership of more self-advocates than ever before. Before we get started, I need to thank a few people. I want to thank the ASAN staff for the incredible work you have done this year and every year. I want to thank our sponsors for making this event possible. Thank you to our panelists for sharing with us their time and their thoughts. And thank you to our awardees for helping to change the world for us all. And I want to thank you joining us here tonight. I also want to thank the self-advocates of color who have spoken out this year and many years in the past about racism in our community and how ASAN can serve our whole community better. Since the beginning of 2020, we have been working intensely to examine all of our internal structures and practices and deliberately embed intersectionality and racial justice into every aspect of our work and our organizational culture. Working on our equity plan has helped us focus on how we at ASAN can tell the whole story of our community. We're so grateful to everyone who has reached out and taken the time in this difficult year to share your concerns, your feedback, and your suggestions. Our Gala is always supposed to be a celebration of self-advocacy, and that wouldn't be possible without self-advocates from all across the country fighting every day for a better future for our community. Thank you. When neurotypical people talk about self-advocacy, they often assume that self-advocacy is just about one person standing up for themselves. And our world does require us to stand up for ourselves over and over again. But the self-advocacy movement is about the idea that standing up for yourself doesn't happen in isolation. It's about the idea that we are collectively all standing up for ourselves together. And in that action, there is power. That's what connects the person testifying in Congress to the person who is saying no to their support staff for the first time. Self-advocacy is about recognizing the power we have as a community and as individual people and using it to build a better world. Self-advocacy as a movement originated over 50 years ago. Self-advocates who had been forced into institutions, who faced a medical system that didn't value them and an education system that wouldn't make room for them. Self-advocates who confronted violent ableism every day said, "We don't want this. Stop." All over the world, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities demanded that we all have rights and choices and value. That was radical. It's still radical. Our legacy runs deep. People with developmental disabilities, including autistic people, have put in decades of work building power and community and laying groundwork. Self-advocates with intellectual disabilities organized, creating local and state networks, traveling for hours to introduce others to the ideas of the self-advocacy movement. In formal and informal groups, they spoke out, challenging the incorrect assumptions that had kept so many people institutionalized and that had limited our community's power. Because of their work, many more of us live at home today. This fight wasn't and isn't easy, and it's far from over. But we've built power and networks and communities. We've made allies and enemies. We still have a long way to go, but we've put in the work. And over this past year, I've seen the results of those decades of groundwork blooming over and over again. The autistic community has spent the last 25 years organizing online, finding each other, and building our power. In the last decade, I've seen many, many powerful online protests against initiatives that would harm our community. But this year, I saw something new. They worked. This year, self-advocates online stopped powerful, well-funded initiatives that ignored our community in their tracks. In the UK, we saw Spectrum 10K, a multi-million-dollar project devoted to research on the causes of autism, which they called a disease, topple under hundreds of thousands of tweets and emails and articles from autistic people and our allies stating unequivocally, "We don't want this. Stop." There's still a chance that this project carries forward out as intended, but I have never seen self-advocates force a project like this to so much as pause before. This is extraordinary. And I promise you, researchers all over the world with similar goals are taking notice and getting worried. Here in the US, we saw Color the Spectrum, which both violated the privacy of an autistic child and aimed to fund ABA in more schools, handled much the same way. In response to our community's outcry, they were forced to change their messaging, change their fundraising, engage with self-advocates, and redistribute some of those funds back to our community. Both of these projects were literally funded by millions of dollars, backed by power and influence that are still far beyond our reach. And our community stopped them. The organizers of these incredibly successful self-advocacy campaigns were able to build on the decades of work and organizing and community building our community has put in. Inch by inch, we've built the infrastructure necessary for this kind of impact. This work began long before ASAN existed. It's what made ASAN possible to begin with. And as we've seen this year, our movement is so much bigger than just ASAN. It's so much bigger than any one of us. It's something every self-advocate contributes to. Our community has built networks and hubs like train tracks, stretching across the US and around the world. Our power is decentralized, and that means that any self-advocate can lead the fight. Our community isn't done building and growing. There is much more to be done and many more fights to be won. But we're getting closer to where we need to be, every day. Through work online and offline, we've completely changed the conversation about autism. For the first time ever, 1/3 of the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee's public membership are self-advocates. These self-advocates include self-advocates of color, a full-time AAC user, and a self-advocate with an intellectual disability. When a major movie glorified restraint and seclusion, actual non-speakers responded with the short film, Listen. After more than a decade of unjust prosecution and abuse in the criminal legal system, Nellie Latson, a Black autistic man with multiple disabilities, was finally granted a full pardon. When the Senate held a hearing on guardianship, self-advocates who've experienced guardianship firsthand shared their stories. We've forced people and institutions of power to listen and to begin to change. This is power. We need to channel this power we've built up, and we need to see these promises through to the end. We need to finish closing institutions, and we need to make sure everyone has the support they need to thrive in the community. We need to abolish guardianship, and we need to ensure that every person has a way to communicate that works for them. We need to ban the minimum wage, end restraint and seclusion, and name things like police violence and mass incarceration as part of our fight. We need to ensure that our own community isn't replicating systems of oppression and harming autistic people with other marginalized identities, like autistic people, non-speaking autistics, and autistic people with intellectual disabilities. We need to make it impossible for autism research and policy to be conducted without our guidance. We have a lot of work to do. But I know we can do it. After all, this year began with the disability community being excluded yet again from COVID-19 recovery legislation, and it's ending with the largest federal investment in home and community-based services we've ever seen. Through accessible information like plain language and easy read, we are spreading the tools of civic engagement to make sure everyone is equipped to have a say in policies that affect us. Disabled voters are turning out in higher and higher numbers than ever before, and we are demanding more and more access to the vote. We're also getting our elected officials on the phone, emailing them about issues that matter, even tweeting them. We haven't seen the finish line in many of these fights, but we have seen that we are building the power to get there. We are seeing a future where nothing about us, without us, echoes in the halls of power. And this year, like many years, we've been asked, who decides what happens to autistic people? Who decides what research is done about us? Who decides what therapies are used on us? And this year, we've made our answer loud and clear. We decide. And more, we are. We are building that power through these fights, carrying on the legacy of our self-advocate predecessors. We have stories that show us what is possible and remind us of what we are striving towards. And more often, we are the ones telling those stories. Mi Cerebro Atípico is sharing stories and vital resources in Spanish. Ask Me, I'm an AAC User is creating a page where AAC users finally have positions of authority and expertise, as they should have for years and years. I'm speaking to you after a night where non-speaking filmmakers took back control of a narrative of a narrative that has constantly held them as a subject, never the creator. We're recognizing another member of a growing cadre of autistic journalists shaping the narratives told about us. And we're celebrating the work of disabled organizers of color who have created new spaces for multi-marginalized disabled people to build power and community. At the end of the day, here's what we know. Self-advocacy is powerful. When we tell our own stories, we change the things people believe about autism. When we stand up for ourselves, we stand up for our whole community. As we build our power, we fight to change the world for everyone. As we lay new tracks, we bring more and more of our community on board and we move forward together. And we do that for our community, but we also do it for ourselves because self-advocacy is about us. It's about you, it's about you, and that becomes us. And we become change for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for those important words and reminders, as well as a powerful call to action. To everyone joining us today or in the future, thank you so much for your continued support, and for joining us here to celebrate self-advocacy. All of the work ASAN does would not be possible without the support of the autistic community. In case you missed any of the content, all of it, except for the film screenings, will be on ASAN's YouTube channel. I attended ASAN's ACI Leadership Academy back in 2019, where I got to learn about autistic identity, self-worth and disability justice. The week of training builds up to the highlight of Hill Day, where participants get to meet and make a case to staffers on Capitol Hill. And I got to ride on the secret train. As you can see, there is a train theme going on here. I do want to emphasize that autism is not quite the linear spectrum that one is made to believe. We are impacted in varying degrees across multiple areas. Each of us is going to be permutations and combinations of different strengths and challenges. There is beauty in the complexity of the autistic experience that spans the lifetime and intersects with many different areas. A chord that really struck me during the training was leadership of the most impacted. Everyone means everyone. Autistics with the most support needs, such as the non-speakers, can be its most valuable leaders. It left me thinking that, rather than demanding a seat at the table, and even getting a seat at the table, our task could well be to redefine the table itself. ASAN values your support, whether that is participating in our call-ins, sharing our resources, or donating. All of the work ASAN does would not be possible without the support of the autistic community. As we enter the holiday season, please think about giving to ASAN. You can become a member for a monthly recurring donation of as little as $3 a month. Members receive ASAN merchandise and access to our members-only newsletter. You can also gift a membership to an autistic loved one. Let's continue to provide care and support to each other, and keep working to protect our rights. I know ASAN will be out there every day fighting for all of us. Together, we can make a difference.